Hi everybody, my name is Danielle Nicole and welcome to Monetary Makeup. Now, despite having makeup in the title of my YouTube channel, I am actually a huge fragrance buff. And there have been so many new releases over the last couple of months, so today I'm going to be combining a few different fragrances in today's video. I have Prada, Ellis Brooklyn, Nest, and a ton of others coming soon. And if you enjoyed the video while you're watching, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, and let's get started right now. I feel like I have quite the variety of different fragrances, so the very first one we are going to get started with is the newest release from Nest. And this fragrance is called Golden Nectar. Now, as much as I love my fragrances, I unfortunately do not have a local Sephora near me. So that means I blind buy almost all of my fragrance purchases. And typically I start with a travel or mini size, and I can always purchase a full size in the future. So that's what I have here, the travel size. So before I give you my thoughts about Golden Nectar, let me first read to you the main accords and notes. So the main accords are powdery, vanilla, musky, amber, sweet, floral, leather, animalic, and soft spicy. And the notes of Golden Nectar are vanilla, orchid, amber, musk, and suede. So Golden Nectar, this is one of the most beautiful, dreamy, creamy, deep, beautiful scents I have from Nest. Now, one of my absolute favorite fragrances from Nest is actually Sun-Kissed Hibiscus. So if any of you have ever smelled that fragrance, now that one definitely has a solar property to it where this one does not. But Sun-Kissed Hibiscus, it just has a very warm and inviting fragrance to it. And this Golden Nectar definitely has some of the same properties. Now, the actual fragrance is not identical at all, but it just has a very warm, inviting scent to it. One of the things I really appreciate about Nest is the way they blend their notes together. So what's really interesting is you can still pick up all the different notes, but they are blended together so well. I just feel like they all blend very seamlessly together. Now, while Golden Nectar certainly has some floral properties, I wouldn't say that this is a heavily floral fragrance. You definitely do pick up on the florals, which is listed as orchid, but it's a very creamy orchid, and I think that's because it is blended with the vanilla, musk, and suede. Now, I am not always a fan of suede. It definitely has to be blended on the more feminine side. This one definitely is. So definitely think very sweet, vanilla, ambery, just like the notes are listed. But it's not a sweet like a gourmand. It's more of a floral gourmand. And that amber and vanilla, it is just the perfect dry down. So if you like your sweet florals, but you don't like the florals to be overpowering, and you love creamy vanilla with amber and musk mixed in, this would be perfect for you. I think Golden Nectar is a perfect scent for going on a date, wearing at night. You could definitely wear this during the day, but it definitely screams more night and date night to me. And I do find the sweetness that comes from this fragrance, it's not pulled from the florals in my opinion. It's more from the vanilla, musk, suede, basically all of the other notes. So it's just a very dreamy, creamy, warm, inviting fragrance. Yeah, super warm, lots of vanilla, definitely musky, and I would say it does have that hint of suede, but if you are typically opposed to suede scents, I would still recommend giving this a sniff. I would say if you are looking for a fragrance to transition you from summer to fall, this would be a phenomenal one, but it's not limiting to the fall or winter side, but I do tend to associate this fragrance more with nights than day. And I can't say that I have anything in my collection that is quite like this. Just because this has the suede and the amber, it just gives it something different, so it's not your typical everyday vanilla fragrance. So if you're looking for a warm, inviting vanilla scent, Golden Nectar would definitely be the one. Alright, next up, Ellis Brooklyn just dropped a brand new fragrance called Vanilla Milk. Now listen, when I heard that Ellis Brooklyn was dropping a new vanilla fragrance, I was so excited. Now I love and can appreciate all different types of fragrances, but sweet and warm gourmands are definitely my favorite, or at least one of my favorite notes, especially as we transition to fall and winter. So just listen to some of these notes that they have in the Sephora description. So scent type is warm and sweet gourmands. Key notes, bourbon vanilla bean extract, yes, upcycled cocoa shell, and frangipani. So the description reads, delicious yet sophisticated, faceted yet smooth. Vanilla milk is a fragrance of paradoxes. This eau de parfum uses 2 types of vanilla extracts, a touch of florals, cocoa shell, rich amorous, and a creamy milk accord. Doesn't that all sound delicious? Now, I really appreciate when brands take a scent such as vanilla that can be so generic, very similar. I appreciate when they put their own twists on these fragrances. However, I was not ready for this scent type. So before I give you all of my thoughts about vanilla milk, let me first read to you some of the accords and notes. So some of the main accords on Fragrantica are vanilla, woody, warm spicy, amber, balsamic, lactonic, cocoa, powdery, aromatic, and sweet. So the top notes in vanilla milk are milk, peony, frangipani, jasmine. Middle notes are bourbon vanilla, Madagascar vanilla, cocoa pod, and the base notes are benzoin, amorous, sandalwood, and musk. So when I received my order, you bet I was so excited. I opened this up, I sprayed it on my arm, I took a big whiff, and woo, this was not what I was expecting. So yes, I was expecting a certain lactonic feel to this fragrance, but I was more or less expecting a semi-sweet vanilla with some woods in there mixed in, some spices, kind of like the perfect fall vanilla. But this fragrance, you guys, I absolutely despise it. I am so sad to say. So imagine you open up some vanilla extract that you cook with, dump it in some milk. That is basically what the top notes smell like. It almost reminds me of straight vanilla bean ice cream. Now typically when you hear vanilla bean ice cream, you might think, oh, that smells divine. But there's just something in this fragrance. It is almost too gourmand for me, which I never thought I would say. Now, the unfortunate thing is once this fragrance dries down a bit after the initial spray, there is a beautiful woodsy scent to it, absolutely, almost like a smoky woods. Now, that part of the fragrance is absolutely beautiful. So it's really interesting that in this fragrance specifically, it's actually the vanilla that I do not like. And you know, it's not even the fact that it has a lactonic feel to it. It's just the fact that it smells straight up like vanilla extract, dumping it into some milk, and then adding a bit of burning woods to it. I don't know, there's just something about it I definitely don't recommend, and I'm so disappointed with vanilla milk. Now, in the top notes of vanilla milk, they do have listed peony, frangipani, and jasmine. I just do not get any of those florals. It is just straight up vanilla bean milk to me. Now that is just my opinion, so on the flip side, if you love the scent of true real raw vanilla extract, you love lactonic fragrances, and you also love kind of smoky burning woods, then you might actually really love this fragrance. So unfortunately, vanilla milk is going to be a pass for me, but don't worry, we're going to be having a ton of other vanillas and other fragrances in general coming up. Now next up, if you are a fan of Emma Watson, you may have heard of Prada's newest release, Paradoxe Milano. Now I was actually really excited to pick up this new Prada fragrance, not just because of the notes, but because I believe this is one of the first Prada fragrances that are not flankers, and I want to say at least a decade. I could be off on that, but I believe this is their first one that is not a flanker. Now you'll notice I have an actual bottle of this fragrance, not a travel or mini size. So first of all, I think the packaging is absolutely beautiful. This looks so pretty sitting on your dresser. Now, not only is this a beautiful bottle, but this fragrance is also refillable, which is great for the environment, of course. So I feel like this fragrance is going to be a controversial one, and I will explain in a minute. First, let me read to you the main accords on Fragrantica. So the main accords on Fragrantica are white floral, citrus, amber, sweet, vanilla, fruity, powdery, musky, fresh, and animalic. The top notes are pear, tangerine, and bergamot. Middle notes are orange blossom, jasmine sambac, neroli essence, and neroli. And the base notes are bourbon vanilla, amber, white musk, and benzoin. Now, right off the bat, this is a very sweet, heavily floral fragrance. Now, what's really interesting is despite having bergamot and tangerine, which I often find give it a bit of a lift since it does have a citrus property, because there is bourbon vanilla, amber, and white musk in the base, I don't necessarily find this fragrance pulling me to call it a summer one. So let me just say right off the bat, I absolutely love this new Paradoxe. Now, I am kind of finicky when it comes to jasmine and neroli specifically, but for whatever reason, the way the notes and some of these sweet properties come through, combined with that bourbon vanilla, also some of the amber, this just is a beautiful fragrance. Now, I remember thinking the first time I sprayed this fragrance, wow, this fragrance definitely has a huge punch. Now, when I say punch, I don't mean like fruit punch, like the scent. What I mean is, wow, this fragrance definitely has a strong property. Now, out of all of the notes that are described in this fragrance, let me tell you what I actually get. So I would describe this fragrance as an orange blossom, bergamot, jasmine bomb. Of course, with some neroli mixed in, but once the fragrance dries down, the vanilla definitely becomes much more prominent. Now, on the dry down, there is a certain property that almost reminds me of the original Alien, but not nearly as strong. Now, I am actually not a fan of the original Alien. That jasmine, it is just a little bit too sour, too strong for my liking, but this one is absolutely beautiful. So if you typically aren't a huge fan of jasmine, neroli, bergamot, I would still recommend giving this a sniff. I was not expecting to like this fragrance as much as I do. Now, part of the reason I said that this fragrance may be a bit controversial, or at least I'm predicting that, is because I feel like some people are going to compare this fragrance to several others. Now, I can certainly understand to an extent, especially in the designer world. I feel like right now just about every fragrance has bergamot, maybe some neroli, orange blossom, and vanilla. So I don't know what it is. Every single designer fragrance right now seems to be some sort of orange blossom, vanilla, jasmine concoction. Now, yes, taking a look at the notes online, I can see why people would say that. However, I don't have anything in my collection that is quite like this fragrance. So back to the actual scent. If you enjoy heavily floral, heavily sweet scents with a bit of vanilla in the dry down, I really think you would enjoy this one. Now, this is another one. I would typically classify this as a summer or spring fragrance, but because it has that amber and bourbon vanilla in the base, I would say that I would probably be comfortable wearing this fragrance year round. Now, I did mention that this is a strong fragrance. Now, I wouldn't say this is beast mode by any means, but the projection on this fragrance is pretty large. But once you get past the initial top notes, I do feel like this does start to kind of marinate and simmer on the skin and just turn into a beautiful, sweet floral vanilla fragrance. Now, let me just say, I am not typically a fan of super heavy florals, but because this fragrance has that vanilla bourbon, and there's just another sweet property in this that I'm not picking up, definitely not a gourmand, just the way this fragrance is blended, I just love it. Now, before I let you go, if any of these new scents were not your jam, don't you worry, and especially as we head into fall and winter, I have some really great new fragrances up my sleeve. And I'll give you a little hint. Alright, you guys, well, definitely let me know down below in the comments. Have you tried any of these new fragrances? Have you tested them out? Do you love them? Do you hate them? Are they a total pass for you? Let us know all of your thoughts down below. Well, I really hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye, guys!